Okay, welcome to Into the Channel, a podcast primarily about women's football. Before we hit the pitch, if you enjoy the show or love women's football as much as your boys do, come kick it with us already. Subscribe, follow YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you like to watch or listen. Leave us a review over your favorite podcast app. Links to all of our socials in the show notes of this episode. I am your host, Dino Grant, and as always, I am joined by my co-host, Mr. Grant Engel. What is up, man?
I'm feeling all right, buddy. We spent the first half hour or so talking a little NWSL, talking a little U.S. Women's National Team. But you know what? We still love the Champions League so much. Mm-hmm. I'm glad it's back. I'm glad we had a match. There were some things for anybody who's watching this program who didn't watch our last show on the NWSL and the U.S. Women's National Team. We had a lot of factors interrupt play there for a while, some illnesses, some work trips, all that stuff. But we're back. We're here to talk about Matchday 4, a little bit about Matchday 3, talk about the importance of these pivot matches. European football, those European nights, they're back.
They are way back. And yeah, just to add a little context to what my guy is mentioning, this is actually part 2. Part 1, we covered the NWSL semifinals, did a little preview on the NWSL final, a little mini preview, and talked a little U.S. Women's National Team as they announced their roster for their 2 upcoming European friendlies. We also cracked the beers, so pretend we cracked another one.
Mm-hmm.
Still got a little bit more. Stick around for part 3. It might be a 2-beer evening for your boys, so that's still TBD. But let's zoom into UEFA Women's Champions League Wednesday. Where do you want to get started? 4 big matches. Let's go.
You know I love alphabetical order. I love alphabetical order almost as much as I love chronological order. It's a constant battle in the UEFA Women's Champions League of what I like more.
A culture war, really.
Yeah, really. So let's go with your turf. Group A, Galatasaray versus Wolfsburg. We're going into Germany for this reverse fixture on Matchday 4. What do you want to talk about? What did you see in these 2 squads?
I want to just kind of do a quick drop in and see a little temperature check, a little vibe check. So Wolfsburg cooking right now, sitting at the top of Frauen Bundesliga, coming off a 5-0 away win over Galatasaray. They are 8-1-1 in their last 10 Frauen Bundesliga matches, plus 19 goal differential. They've won 12 of 15 this season, including 5 straight. Lynette Bierenstein, ITC favorite. She scored in 3 of her last 4. Mm-hmm. And I just wanted to give a quick shout out to former SK Bronze standout, Justine Jelland, for an absolute majestic touch in the 63rd minute. Had the announcer oohing and eyeing. That led to Rebecca Blomqvist's first goal of the day. And welcome to the party, Rebecca Blomqvist. She notches 3 goals and an assist. Could have easily been a 5-piece. Felt like in this one, Wolfsburg, pretty much all bangers. Just all bangers, no filler. They were not messing around today. And I think this was something that carried through the entire match day 3, where some of the big dogs, some of the more pedigreed teams really looked at this match day as an opportunity to kind of extend that goal differential situation. Really savvy play from those squads that have been there before.
Yeah, I mean, most of the teams really pulled away. That's a great point. We had talked about the goal differentials in this tournament maybe inching closer. A lot of teams did some work to maybe make that take not so correct. We'll see how teams adjust and play on match day 4. But yeah, I think you're spot on here. The pedigree of Wolfsburg really showed through going into Turkey to have that gigantic 5-0 win. Wolfsburg in their last 5 matches across all comps, so including this 5-0 win over Galatasaray, 14 goals for, 1 goal against. It just feels like every match I'm able to catch of theirs, they just have players running completely free in the danger area, which is always a good sign for you, never a good sign for your opponents. And let me just say, I want to throw it out there. They arrived a little late. Let the revenge tour begin.
I like it. I think we're in full-on revenge tour mode at this point.
Yeah.
Galatasaray, a team I was high on coming into this. Tough stretch for them. 3 Champions League matchups, 1 goal for, 14 against. I'm no mathematician. That lands somewhere in the minus 13 range.
Yep.
But you look at Lyon, Wolfsburg, AS Roma, no real relief there against those 3 big dogs. I do still kind of feel that we haven't heard the last of Andrea Stashkova, Gata Usme, you already know, 19-year-old Hapsatu Diallo. She's looked exciting in spots too. So a lot to be excited about for Galatasaray fans. But yeah, I think they're drawing dead a little bit in this one. Even their goalkeeper, Gamze Nur Yerman versus Wolfsburg. I thought she played really well, 10 saves, but
Yeah.
I mean, you face 15 on target from that Wolfsburg attack. It's going to be a long day. So we'll see what they've got when they lock up again on Wednesday here.
Yeah, totally agree. Now you have to go into Germany, a very tall task. I think it's going to put some pressure on another team we'll talk about later in this group. But yeah, I'm glad you mentioned her. Our pal, Justine Jelland, formerly of SK Braun. She looked great in this match against Galatasaray.
Oh, yeah.
You mentioned the touch. She was just a really good connector, looked dangerous, probably could have had a goal of her own at one point in the match. So good to see Jelland play well. My heart still hurts that she's not wearing that SK Braun red, but it's okay. We soldier on.
Yeah, well, it's almost like we got some Braun in the Champions League, so I'm happy about that.
That's fair.
Let's shift gears here. Same time slot, Real Madrid, FC Twente. What do we need to know about what we saw last week and what's coming up this week?
So heading into match day 3, I wasn't totally certain about Real Madrid's form heading into match day 3. They had a match in Liga F against Levante Badalona that ended up being 3-1 Real Madrid. I was able to watch it on DAZN, where you can watch many Liga F matches.
Let's go.
They were down 1-0 in the 76th minute. It took a late Alba Redondo brace to really put them ahead and win the match somewhat comfortably. But they went down 1-0 in the 20th minute, and they were a bad offside call from being down 2-0.
Wow.
So I was going into this match like, okay, well, Twente is going to play physical. They're going to try to hit those long passes over the top. Let's see how it works. It didn't work. Real Madrid very clearly took out some frustration on Twente. They score super early. Senior Brun gets on the board, I want to say like in the first 5 minutes. And then they just kind of started to pile on. And Twente, you could just tell they looked a little panicked. Amanda Andradotir didn't capitalize on a really bad giveaway by Misa Rodriguez. They go into halftime down 2-0. If you're Twente in that spot, you needed to pull that back and go into halftime 2-1. Other than that, it's like you're in deep trouble. And then Real Madrid I think they scored like, I want to say in like the 50th minute. It was Naomi Feller, Caroline Weir, and then just things start to get real ugly. And then you end up winning by a touchdown when you're Real Madrid. Or from Twente's perspective, you end up losing by a touchdown. And it's just like, that might end your tournament.
Certainly feels like it. I thought Misa Rodriguez, really good game. And then a team like this to get back Carolyn Weir and Senior Brun, and then just to see the performance in a match like this, I thought was really, really impressive. Twente's spirit kind of broken, especially early in that second half once they give up the third.
Yep.
Not going to quite call it a wrap, but I think this one, they're steering way uphill, this Twente side. But, I mean, still some football to be played, as mentioned.
Yeah, so let's say they get the win over Madrid. It's important to remember that in the UEFA Women's Champions League group stage, the first tiebreaker are points in head-to-head matches among tied teams. If Twente comes back and beats Madrid, it'll be 3 points and 3 points. But the second tiebreaker, goal difference in head-to-head matches. So unless Twente comes out and wins 8-1 or 7-0, they are, as you said, staring way uphill.
Yeah, I mean, well, having to make up 7 goals isn't as bad as having to make up 17 goals if it was just overall goal differential, because right now Real Madrid's +10, Twente's -7. So they got that going for them. So we're definitely going to be locked into this one, if for nothing else, to see what Real Madrid looks like. Because I think it's also important to note that Real Madrid hosted Barcelona this past weekend and, got big sistered by the champs. 4-0 loss at home. Couldn't quite get too much going. I think it was a good maybe reality check for them. But again, these are 2 different tournaments. A lot can happen. I don't think it dulls Real Madrid's enthusiasm or chances in this tournament to go deep with a loss like that. But it'll be interesting to see how they bounce back in this one.
Well, I think that's actually part of the thing that I'm considering narrative-wise is like, so they didn't look that great against Levante Badalona, and then they come in and smash Twente. Now they get kind of beat down by Barcelona. In that Liga F match, also, I watched on DAZN, where Real Madrid is playing at home versus Barcelona. They give up the first goal pretty early in the proceedings, and you could just see the look on Misa Rodriguez's face like, oh my God, not again. And it's
Yep.
just like they fought back. Now they had some chances, so they don't go down 2-0. And I realize this is funny to say, but they didn't go down 2-0 until the 22nd minute, which is kind of a long time when you're playing Barcelona. But Patry gets both goals. I think it was the first one was a header, and then the second one was an absolute bullet, if I'm remembering this correctly. Please, MLS Architect, correct me in the chat if I'm wrong on this. But I think Patry hits an absolute bullet into the bottom left corner.
Yeah, I think it knocked in off the post, I think, too. So just perfect placement on that second Patry goal.
Of course, because that's pretty much what she does. And then you could just tell it was like, okay, air's out of the balloon. By the time we roll around to halftime, it's 3-0. Claudia Pina scores, and you're pretty much just finished. They could have had another goal at one point. They probably could have had a couple more. Now you're Real Madrid back in the same cycle. We have no chance against Barcelona. Now they get to go to the Netherlands and maybe take out that frustration on Twente again. But Twente, they're going to be fighting against that.
Yep, I like it. Should be a fun one. Let's shift gears here. I want to head to France, where Lyon will be hosting one of my favorite teams, AS Roma. In the first matchup, Lyon took this one on the road 3-0 over the Italian side. I was really impressed with Lyon's defense. I think we tend to key in on their offense, but I mean, just defensively, they were smothering. They held Roma to just 5 shots in the match, just 2 on target. No Roma player had more than a single shot in the match. No Evelyn Vienne in this one. Tough day for that Roma attack. Lyon, though, was also the more aggressive team. So they committed 17 fouls to Roma's 8. I love that stat.
Yep.
When you've got the better team that's still also playing more aggressive, more physical. They also earned 3 yellow cards to Roma's 0. Melchi Dumornay, she's a treasure. Like, she had an unbelievable
Yes.
match. She continues to really stand out. This is all while Tabitha Chawinga is still kind of like working her way into the offense, trying to find specifically what that role is going to look like. But yeah, I was really impressed with Lyon in this one, and it starts from the defense.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you raise a great point there, is that Lyon has a shapeshifter element to them where they can play you on the counter. They can dominate the ball. They can play great defense. They could absolutely cook you in the midfield. They can wear you out in the midfield, or they can just run with Chawinga and then the dazzling skill of Diani and then the kind of the brute force of Melchi Dumornay and just the genius link-up play between those players, and then Damaris and Haran. It's just like, well, I know we say it all the time, but like, however do you want it from this team? Like, they can kind of figure out what levers to pull and where to go. I just want to say on that Melchi from near the halfway line goal, hilarious assist for Lindsay Horan, who basically steps in front, gets the steal, and is like, here you go, Melchi. And then she's just like, yeah, why not? I'll have a go. And then she David Beckham's one into the back of the net. Absolutely fantastic.
Wild. Yeah, total backbreaker. To rewind back real quick to that Lyon defense, they haven't allowed a goal since September 20th.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
That's perfect record this season, minus a tough away draw to Paris FC. That was a 0-0. And then this past weekend, they beat Saint Etienne 11-0. Lindsay Horan, 4 goals before being subbed off in the 68th. And Diani had a brace just in second half stoppage time.
It's just amazing. Come on now.
Looking at this Roma side, though, the components are there for a deep run. They're still sitting in 4th in Serie A Femminile. They got a nice bounce back 2-1 win over 7th place Lazio at home. Goals from De Guglielmo and Valentina Giacinti. Still just 2 losses though in the season from 15 matches. The loss to Lyon and a 2-1 loss at Juventus. Yeah. So I definitely expect a little bit of a bounce back from Roma. This is going to be a tough one though, heading to Lyon, needing a result. The last thing I wanted to mention here, we put up a poll a couple weeks back. Which Champions League Group A team will not make the knockout stage? Roma slightly edged out Wolfsburg 52.4% to 42.9%. The crowd has spoken, and I very famously predicted a few weeks back Roma would walk away with at least a point from these 2 matches. What are you going to be looking out for when these 2 teams run it back this week?
I think you got to see how the attack is able to get through Lyon's midfield and through that defense. I mean, they have to be able to put some goals on the board. I mean, we talk about Wolfsburg kind of making their march back. This is the team I was obviously alluding to when we were talking about Wolfsburg. Yep. Is okay, so now Wolfsburg's sitting on 3, you're sitting on 6. If you get cracked again by Lyon and Wolfsburg is playing at home against Galatasaray, now you're going to be level on points. Roma obviously banked that 1-0 win over Wolfsburg in Italia, but now you got to go to Germany and play them in the last match of the group stage, and you're only sitting on that 1-0 goal difference from your win in that first week. So, I mean, we could be set up for some real group of life stuff if the battle ends up being between Roma and Wolfsburg.
Group A, group of life? We'll see.
Maybe.
I think it's looking like the most likely. Well, that's something we'll definitely keep an eye on. This one's going to be really, really interesting. One more Wednesday match to hit, though. This was probably the match of last week, right?
I think
Celtic
so.
1, Chelsea 2. What'd you see in this one?
I want to rewind to when I was a master of Google and looked up all the cities in the U.S. named Glasgow and said, I don't care if you're in Glasgow, Pennsylvania, or Glasgow, Nevada, or wherever they were. I thought it was a funny bit to do. Shut up, past Grant. What do you know? In Glasgow, Scotland, that team played their ass off. Shout out to the Green Brigade, the supporters, the ultras, waving flags, chanting, creating an amazing atmosphere.
It was awesome.
This match was played at Celtic Park in Glasgow. Before the match starts, the green lights are flashing in the blackened arena. You'll Never Walk Alone is blaring over the loudspeaker. I thought DAZN did a really nice job by showing the tunnel shot of the Celtic players. Many of them with just like big smiles on their face, like they're playing in the Champions League against Chelsea Football Club in Celtic Park. ITC Hall of Famer and Scottish international Erin Cuthbert wearing the Chelsea blue. She had a big old smile on her face. But I thought it was funny watching that nice moment. You could see in the background Zashira Musovic and Ashley Lawrence, stone face. Not there for the sentimentality. They were there to win a football game because they're Chelsea players. There was a great juxtaposition there.
Yeah, a little bit of size difference too. Look at it.
Yeah.
Lawrence kind of towering over. Cuthbert kind of fit in a little bit better at the front of the line there. First ever women's Champions League game at Celtic Park. So that was a very cool moment too.
Awesome.
And yeah, Celtic played really tough. They obviously get that great moment early to kind of just turn this into a real match. Absolutely added to the entertainment value of this one.
Great performances from multiple players across Celtic. Murphy Agnew gets the goal, like you said, the opener. The crowd goes insane. Murphy Agnew, educated where? Harvard University in the United States of America. It was a smart run. It was a brilliant pass from Amy Gallagher, who had just weighted it absolutely perfectly into Murphy Agnew's pass. Agnew, born in New Hope, Pennsylvania, by the way. If you're curious, what did she major in at Harvard? Engineering sciences. Probably pretty clever. We go to the back of the pitch. We go into goal. You mentioned Kelsey Doherty. Where's Kelsey Doherty born, you might ask? Kelsey Doherty sounds like a pretty Scottish name. Born in Kennesaw, Georgia. Attended the University of Alabama at Birmingham.
Let's go.
The Blazers. For any of our European pals, Google UAB College America, and you will see they have the sickest dragon logo you will ever see. It's one of the best logos in college sports here in America. But to your point, Kelsey Doherty played great. It could have been 3-1. This match could have been 4-1. She made some excellent saves. The first one she let in, the Micah Hamano goal, maybe she could have got more of a hand on that one, but it was a tricky spot with the ball kind of ricocheting around down there. There are no participation trophies. Like Celtic comes in to win football matches, but I think they held up as well as you could possibly expect when you think of just a massive talent disparity on both sides.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they played really tough. This was an absolute ice bath match.
Yep.
Very physical. I mean, they got into it, got a little chippy. And I thought Celtic did a lot with the chances that they got. I thought they were aggressive. They were happy to put crosses in, try to get on the end of those.
Yep.
And then defensively, they didn't roll over. I mean, I think we saw a lot of lopsided decisions. Match day 3, this certainly was not one of them. And I'm not gonna lie, man, got me excited for match day 4. And I think more Celtic football. They want to compete. Mm-hmm. They want to be physical. They want to stay in these matches. So I'm excited about these next 3 from the Celtic side.
Likewise. They're going to travel to London. That's a pretty easy trip for them from Glasgow. And I'm glad you mentioned the crosses coming in. I thought Lucy Ashworth-Clifford played really well, kind of delivering some of those crosses. So easily my favorite match in match day 3. It's the only match where both sides scored in this match week. So, I mean, that was a little disappointing considering the other matches, but this was great. I am just very much looking forward to match day 4 for these squads.
Absolutely. All right, man. Well, that is the Wednesday slate. Anything else you want to hit before we get out of here?
I think we covered it, man. I think even with the results being kind of as wide as they were, I think we should expect probably every match to maybe tighten a little bit this time around.
I like it. Quick programming reminder, later this week, we're going to be back with an NWSL final preview. Definitely check that out. Orlando, Washington, going to be a banger this weekend. And then later this week, we will be back with a Matchday 4 full recap. We're going to look at all 8 matchups, break those down, get excited about Matchday 5. That's a few weeks out. That's a little sad, but your boys will persist. If you missed part 1, again, we talked about the NWSL semifinals. Go back and check that out. And coming up, part 3 of this episode, we're going to preview all 4 UEFA Women's Champions League Thursday matchups, including City Hammarby, Bayern Vålerenga, Juventus Arsenal, and St. Polten against the little engine that could, Barcelona.
That sounds good to me, man. Let's get into it.
All right, man, I think we did it. This has been another episode of Into the Channel. Sincere thank you for watching, listening, following, liking, subscribing, just plain hanging out with your boys. And remember to like if you liked, subscribe or follow Into the Channel, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you like to watch or listen. Leave us a review over your favorite podcast app. Links to all of our socials in the show notes of this episode. And a big thank you to my co-host as well, Mr. Grant Engel, my Champions League running mate. He's ready for Matchday 4. I'm ready for Matchday 4. You already know what time it is. I appreciate you, man.
Likewise, buddy. And you know what? I will proudly say, no disrespect to Murphy Agnew and Harvard University, but this podcast, I think we're more University of Alabama at Birmingham than maybe Harvard University. We're out here grinding. So thank you for rocking with us. Come and enjoy some working class football with your boys, and we will see you guys next time.